Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Simmonds Professional Review. I am absolutely delighted this week to have Wanda Smith from Orca Organizing here.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, good morning, Wanda.
How are you this morning?
I'm great. So glad you're
Good morning,
here.
Debbie. Thank you for having me.
So Wanda, please tell us about your business, because we had you in to speak to our realtors a year or so ago, and even realtors were very surprised about the organization that you have and what you do for people. So can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure. My business is called Orca Organizing, of course, because of the West Coast. And I started it about 4 years ago, and it had been a lifelong passion of me to start my own organizing business. Even as a little kid, I would be not stuck in my bedroom, but I was saving things to move out, and I would organize all my things in my bedroom. And when I move out, I'm gonna, have all my Tupperware here and all my pots and pans here, and I would literally organize everything in my bedroom at home before moving out. And it's just been a passion of mine my whole life. My parents are organized, and my grandparents, and it's just something that I've always wanted to do. So I started it 4 years ago. In anticipation of retiring from the BC provincial government. So that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years.
Yes, so it sounds like it was in your environment all along and in your DNA as well.
Yes, that's for sure, yeah.
So the first topic I want to get to is the process of organizing and decluttering. And, we have various extremes of this. Sometimes people just need a little bit of help, and then all the way to the other extreme where we have hoarders who desperately need help. So can you launch into that topic,
Right.
Wanda?
Yeah, it's well, there's a lot to it, and I would love to talk for hours, but we don't have a lot of time right now. So the big thing is how to get started. So what I suggest and recommend to my clients is starting small. You feel overwhelmed, and there's just so much things that are taking over your life, your priorities, what you really want to do in life. And so even if it's starting with a drawer in a bathroom, take that bathroom drawer and just take everything out. And yes, I mean everything. And just put it into zones. It's what I call zones. So here's all your toothpaste. Here's all, your razors, and here's all your makeup, right? Rather than it all being just thrown in your drawer, and get little baskets, or you can probably have little baskets around the house, right? So just organize them. Here's your toothpaste basket, your makeup, your razors. And even my husband knows the toothpaste is in our second drawer now. And you just organize things so it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really recommend, is start small. Even if it's half an hour a day, and just build up from there.
Yeah, otherwise it's absolutely too overwhelming. It's like eating an elephant, and that's how you eat an elephant, is one bite at a time, right? So that's wonderful advice. Yes. And okay,
Yes.
So let's get on to the to staging, to staging and dealing with hoarder situations. So staging can be anything from making something incredibly beautiful and high end to just dealing with masses of garbage and junk in somebody's home.
Staging is obviously, we want to be able to have our house, if we're selling it, we want it to have nice curb appeal when we drive up, obviously. And then making sure that when people walk in your door, your front door, because you want to sell it, it's appealing to the buyer. It's appealing to every buyer, not just, a niche market. We want to make sure that personal photos are taken off the walls. I know it's a little harsh, but it needs to be done. And then try to just organize things, in the closets, but they also have to be organized that way too. And take off personal things on your cupboards. Organize your furniture in a different way. Make it look like a show home. if that makes sense. I know it's difficult too when you've been living in your home for years or however long it's been. You may want to hire a stager too. Now, I'm not, that's not one of my specialties, but I know there are a lot of professional organizers who are stagers, you know, and then if you're selling your house on your own, well, I guess I shouldn't be saying that, Debbie. But when you walk in your house, have some flowers there, a nice bouquet of flowers when people walk in, or bake some bread or cookies or something, you know, so that when Debbie does come in to try to sell your house, then the buyers, it's the feeling people get, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that everything to do with organizing is the feeling, right?
Yeah.
So I won't go too much more into staging because it's huge.
Yes.
And hoarding is huge as well. I don't have a lot of time to go into that either, but it's very difficult. I know it's easy for somebody from the outside looking in to say, well, why doesn't that person just clean up? You know, that person could have had a traumatic event from way back, whether they lost a loved one, their parents divorced, whatever it is, they, you know, and it holds on to them. So that's part of why they become hoarders, and especially in later life, right? Seniors, they don't want to let go of
seniors. That's right.
Yeah. It's very difficult as people get older, and it's hard to part with those memorables. You know, so working with a professional organizer helps people to, what do I do with all these photos that I've had for 50, 60 years, Wanda? You know, that sort of thing. So you know, like there's so many different aspects with hoarders, right? That need to be helped with in terms of getting a psychologist in as well. Professional organizers are not professional psychologists, so they can't speak to that end of it. There also needs to be a hazmat team that may have to come in because the environment may be poisonous to whoever enters the environment, whether there's rat feces or whatever kinds of, you know, things are in the house and going on. It's very, very difficult to deal with hoarders. You could have one next door to you, and they could be the nicest person. They could be wearing a suit and going to work every day. You just don't know. But you also want to, you know, I try to be kind to everybody, as you know, because nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's very difficult with, like I said, with the hoarders, and especially as they get to be seniors and what to do with them. So just be patient, try to come from it, you know, from their perspective, and really engage them in conversation, I guess, to get the ball rolling and that sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I've come across a few of them in my career. And one of them was like a very sharply dressed woman who would come to church every Sunday, and you would just never know. But when I got to understand the situation, it was all about her trying to support. It was a depression mentality. She wanted to keep everything. In fact, she had hundreds of bleach bottles full of water because she thought if there was a crisis, she could supply her entire neighborhood with water. It was out of this heart, you know, a heart of protection, right. You know, and you know, and that's where hers came from, was the depression and not having enough. You know, and then they got into her attic, and there were thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of pantyhoses, because she thought pantyhoses could have all kinds of uses in a crisis. So, you know, they all have their different thoughts on these things, but you know, it's a situation that when you see someone getting out of control, it'd be great if a family member could step in then and say early on, there's a problem here. Because sometimes these problems grow so monumental that it can take 2 or 3 years to undo the situation. And quite often you have to remove that person from the situation because they won't allow even a single piece of paper to go. Right? So it is a difficult situation to work with, and you have to work around the psychology of that and get them on board, and it's not easy. Yeah. But
no, it really isn't, Debbie, and it could go on for decades, really.
Yeah.
You know, which is unfortunate. But yeah, you hit on a good point in terms of what we've been through and what we're still going through in terms of the COVID pandemic, and
Yes.
you know, and the toilet paper hoarding, right? And you can see how people feel anxious and they feel
Yeah.
stressed and they feel overwhelmed. I got to get some, you know, because if I'm stuck in my house for, you know, months
Mhm.
on end, you know, so you can understand how people would um, adapt that mentality, you know.
You know, that's a great analogy,
So
Wanda.
yeah,
That's a great analogy because that helps us, because we all felt a little bit of that the first week of the crisis. And sort of it gives us a little bit of insight of how these people are feeling inside. So that was great. That was a great insight. Back to home
yeah,
staging a little bit. You know,
yeah,
paint makes a tremendous bit. Cleanliness. I mean, the first things to go after are the structural things. If you know you've got a structural problem in your house or some mold, some water issues, those are definitely the number one things. You'd think it's the glitzy stuff, but no, it's the solid structural stuff that needs to be handled first. And then minimization in the home, current calming paint colors, you know, friendliness around the front door, curb appeal in the front yard, tremendously important things to do. Um, yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about before we leave, Wanda, is the professional nature of your organization, which I didn't know about. And I think that I want Chemainus and the Cowichan Valley to know that you belong to an actual professional organization. So organizational skills is an industry that's arisen out of our excess, right? So people now need help,
yes.
you know, when they get overwhelmed in their clothes closet or their kitchen and everything's flowing out of the, you know, this is when we need people who are properly trained. So just fill us in on your professional training and your organization, please.
Yes, I'd be glad to. The Professional Organizers in Canada Association was launched in 1999 by a couple of women who exactly that were just organizing, and you know, they helped their friends. And so it's been, what is that, 20 years, over 20 years now, and it's grown to over 600 members across Canada. And we network like on from Victoria all the way up to Vancouver Island, north of North Courtney area. There is, I think, 28 or so professional organizers, and we all help each other. We get together for meetings every other month to talk about like-minded areas, that, you know, hoarding, for example, right? Like, so, okay, Susie, what are you doing? You know, I had this hoarder, and we never get into names, right? But
Yeah.
we give the situation. So what can you help me that, you know, for my next client, that sort of thing. We have conferences once a year that, you know, I've been to Kelowna, Toronto, and Vancouver, and you just meet, like, there's usually about 100 to 200 other professional organizers across Canada that attend these conferences. We have workshops, and we always keep updated on all our training. We have certifications at different levels of the organization. And the camaraderie, even though we are competition, is just amazing how we support each other. And so, yeah, we've got them all over Canada and all over Vancouver Island. So it's Professional Organizers in Canada, and they've got a website, and there's lots of tips and tricks. There's blogs on there too. You can find a professional organizer in your local area, wherever you are. And yeah, it's just been amazing for myself and my training as I'm going forward with my business.
The big use I see around our particular market areas, we have the vast majority of our sellers are seniors. And they just don't know what to do with their stuff. They just don't know what to do with it. You know, and a person like you, Wanda, is invaluable at those times to hire and come in. It's worth it because Wanda knows how to deal with this stuff. So I highly encourage you, if you're in that situation, to give Wanda a call. So we're going to sign off now, but Wanda, can you please let everyone know how to contact you?
Yes, I'm available by email, and it's Wanda, WANDA, and it's FAITH Smith @gmail.com. I'm available by email, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. And yeah, yeah, it's been really a pleasure chatting with you this morning, Debbie. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome, Wanda. I just wanted everyone to know that we had you as a resource in our community and you're available to help. And we just need to get that word out. We need to get that word out. So thank you so much for your time this morning, Wanda. So please call Wanda. I have the utmost confidence in her to help you in that regard. So I'm signing off now. I'm Debbie Simmonds with eXp Realty. Please call me with any of your real estate needs, 250-246-0708. We're in the Central Vancouver real estate market area. Professional, caring, kind. Have a wonderful week.